You are listening to the Tallest Kaiju Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Tallest Kaiju Podcast. In today's episode, we're joined by Cole McCormack of Firewood Media. Firewood Media has been an excellent platform on YouTube showcasing the many facets of Godzilla, Ultraman, Gamera, all these great kaiju properties. And on top of that, Cole is also a very talented filmmaker, having made so many shorts, several feature-length films, and all of them available on his YouTube channel. So please check out this episode and check out Firewood Media on YouTube. And enjoy. What was your introduction to kaiju cinema, and how has that affected your trajectory as an artist?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for starters, I mean, I kind of like, I joke in my videos that it's multiple choice. You know, it's my grandpa staying up late with me and watching old Monster Vision reruns way back in the day. But it's also Godzilla Unleashed on the Wii, but then it's also Godzilla 98, the cassette tape that we had, where my dad would hype up that movie saying it's too scary, don't watch it, you know, you're not going to like it. And it was his way of saying, I don't want to watch this, you know, because it's garbage. And so, but eventually, you know, I'm like, I'm going to work up the courage and watch it. I did. And I liked that a lot as a kid. And I still have elements of that I just enjoy. But you know, in general, it's a lot of different factors. You know, I loved dinosaurs when I was really little, so that also definitely helped. But yeah, I mean, for me, there's this sort of scrappiness in kaiju cinema that I really appreciate, where, you know, you watch movies like Godzilla versus Gigan or Gamera Super Monster, where you can really tell that they slapped this together with every asset that they possibly had, with all these pre-existing movies and utilizing stock footage from them just to get it made. And so for me, I'm a perfectionist. And so I've kind of adapted that mindset a bit and just going, you know what? We just need to make the movie and not worry about making sure it's completely perfect, because at a certain point, you just got to get it done and get it released. And then it's there, as opposed to just sitting on your hard drive rotting, and you know, you're just hoping for the best over time.
Yeah, and I like that you said that, because that's the way that I go into filmmaking too, because especially when it comes to shorts, because you know, shorts are one of those things where there's not an ROI on it. You could submit it to festivals and it's a great practice. I think everybody should make shorts. It's awesome, but to like dwell on it for such a long time, I feel like no, like you need to just get it out and then get it out there, get it out of your system, because you know it's not going to benefit you. The longer it sits with you, the I guess the more it kind of like fades away its relevance to you as an artist,
Right,
and stuff like that. So I definitely agree with that, and I love scrappiness is like my number one thing to talk about with like filmmaking in general that I love. And it's so funny when you watch these older kaiju flicks and like Godzilla flicks, and how really it's just these guys in suits in these little miniature cities that they build, and they're just breaking them and stuff, and like you know, and making it work that way. I love that. And I think that, you know, that there's a reason why there's such like a niche fan base, like people like you and me, right?
I agree.
It's amazing. Did you ever, so you mentioned the Wii game, did you ever play the GameCube game?
I never got a chance to play any GameCube. The Wii was the first console that we had in our household. I was born in 2002, and so that was 2007. So that's kind of like, that was the first system I remember. My dad had the handheld Sega system with like the old, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog on it. I never played that much. We also had a PlayStation 1, but my parents didn't know that the GameCube games were backwards compatible. So if it was a Wii game, we played it. But I still love though that that Godzilla Unleashed game on the Wii. It's so fun to me. I don't care about the motion controls. You know, I dig it. But I did go back and play the PlayStation 2 versions of all those games. And Unleashed is pretty rough on the PlayStation 2. It's basically just save the Earth, but Save the Earth, I love that one. That one's great.
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is because that was on GameCube. One of my favorite games was Destroy All Monsters. I think that was the beginning of what's the developer name?
Pipeworks.
Pipeworks. Yes, it was like the first of their trilogy, I think, of Godzilla
Yeah.
games. And yeah, no, it was so fun being able to play as these these iconic characters. And I recently got the PlayStation 4 Godzilla game, which is like
Yeah.
kind of sucks, but it's rare, so it's like it feels good to play it nowadays in a way.
Yeah.
But
I did a whole video on that one, and it was almost poetic. So I got that when the PS4 came out. I got that one and Black Ops 3, I think it was. And I played through that a ton as a middle schooler, revisited it for the channel. I recorded all the gameplay, did everything I wanted to do, 100%ed it. And then when I went to play it after the fact, I'd finished the video. I'm like, I just want to, for some sick, twisted reason, I want to do one more playthrough. The disc didn't work, and it was almost like fate. It was like God giving me one last chance to do this, and then there you go, it's done. It was like a sign from above: don't ever play this game again.
I love that. That's so funny. If you were to go to like any resale shops, the game's selling for like $200. Or possibly more. And I think over time it's probably going to keep climbing because it did not go well when it first launched.
Right. Yeah. I thought about selling it as a way to kind of like, I'll just get some extra pocket change from that, because that'd be a big old hunk of pocket change for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty much worthless now, though. I bet I could do the whole banana thing though, where you cut a banana and then you rub it on the disc, and apparently that like fixes scratch discs. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'd be willing to give it a shot at this rate.
Yeah, it's like that pseudoscience with blowing into the cartridge, to get the Nintendo 64 game to work. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. But was there a Shin Godzilla DLC for that game?
It was rumored for a bit, but I think they stopped support around the time that movie came out.
Okay.
There was a lot of fan speculation about that.
Because that would have been
I would
dope.
have liked that.
Yes.
It would have been cool too, because he's so slow moving as is that it would have kind of meshed well with the gameplay style.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, so I think that it's time for you to introduce the movie we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Godzilla versus Hedorah from 1971, directed by Yoshimitsu Banno. This is one of my It is my favorite Godzilla movie. There are some times where it's like that number 2 slot kind of goes in between -1, Final Wars, the original 54 film, but this has always been that one that just is locked in for me as my favorite, for a variety of reasons. Hedorah is just such a neat monster. The gender of Hedorah has always been kind of argued by a lot of people. I tend to go with artistic intent, the filmmaker's intent. I consider Titanosaurus to be a female because the writer of the film said that it's a female monster. Hedorah is the same way. Yoshimitsu Banno said that Hedorah is a female in the 71 film. And then in Final Wars, that's supposed to be like a male Hedorah. We can get more into like the symbolism kind of as we go on and why that is. But yeah, it's just one of those where I love this movie. I love Hedorah. I mean, my room is covered in Hedorah toys. I have so many around me where I can just literally pick one up and just, I mean, there's multiple, but I adore that monster and this movie.
Yeah, and I like, and I was a recent watcher of it, just within the past few years when I got that Criterion. I think it's on the Criterion set, but I think it's also on HBO Max and everything. But I always appreciate the darker Godzilla films and the ones that have like that, that really deep rooted message, like in the original 1954. And Hedorah, obviously, with its focus on pollution, falls into that camp. And one of the things when I was looking into it, I was doing some more research because I knew we would talk about it. But this was Kanpechiro Setsuma's first time in a suit, and he played as Hedorah. He would go on later to, be in the suit for Godzilla and a number of Godzilla films. But his first suit experience was Hedorah, which I thought was like pretty neat. Especially this niche type of villain for Godzilla at that,
Right. And his time in the suit was pretty horrific. He there's this, it's gradually become a tall tale and it's sort of been exaggerated over time. But there's this sort of, I'll tell the exaggerated version and then what more of the primary sources have said. The tall tale version is that Kenpachiro Satsuma suddenly had a bout of appendicitis. And so they didn't have time to get him out of the suit. So they did the procedure while he was wearing the Hedorah suit. And they did it without anesthetics because he couldn't, it had no effect on him for some reason, just his body. So he just had to endure that while in this very clumsy, heavy suit. The real version, from what I've read from primary sources, is that it was only part of a suit that he was in, and that the appendicitis thing was, it was more like his lower portion, so like the legs of the suit he had on, but otherwise like they were able to just do it. And it, I don't think the whole anesthetic part is true. I think that was part of, kind of making this really awesome story, seem even more awesome. But yeah, this is his first outing in a Godzilla movie, and it's asking a lot. This was a really heavy suit for him to endure. There's a lot of different forms too for him to kind of have to deal with, and I think he does a great job of having a unique characterization for Hedorah where it feels very animalistic. It's like, what do you do with a blob monster? How do you make that into a monster with actual personality? And he managed to do it. Throughout, Hedorah kind of has this like aggressive curiosity at points where it's almost like it beelines towards pollution to like inhale from like those smokestacks. But then when it sees Godzilla, it almost has this like, what are you supposed to be kind of attitude. And I think that really adds to it for sure.
Yeah, that curiosity, I think it I'm not going to say it humanizes the creatures, but like it does in a sense, because curiosity is something that isn't exclusive to humans, but it's something that I think indicates a personality. And when you give that to a monster like Hedorah, I think that's just, that's a really great way to watch it. Since like obviously they were going for that kind of more like a blob type monster, obviously got more humanoid with the suit, but the blob, like we had the original blob in the 50s and then we had a remake in the 80s. So I wonder if there was ever a point where they were thinking of utilizing that kind of special effects style to create this creature to go against Godzilla. Or I don't know if it's always been a rule where it's like, no, we need two guys in suits fighting each other. There's like no exceptions to that. But
yeah, I know that there were some instances where they used real animals, like with the giant octopus in King Kong versus Godzilla, where for a lot of the close-ups, it was just an actual octopus that they just filmed on this miniature set. And then Eiji Tsuburaya, the special effects director, ended up eating it later after they were done shooting.
I heard about that when I was, I think earlier today, I was watching a video and they talked about the octopus.
Yeah, it's cool.
And what was it? Somebody brought it up in a YouTube video because there was a rumor about something else that somebody had eaten, and the rumor was false, but the octopus was true. I'll have to get back to you on that, but it was just it's funny anecdotes that it's so random, but I thought that was pretty funny. And I honestly would not mind seeing Hedorah in Monsterverse. I think that you could do something really cool with it, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be tough to sell it in a way that would respect that vision, but also be cool enough and worth even exploring at this point. Because they're going big and big and big, and Hedorah's not at like Space Godzilla level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm more keen on Godzilla -0 having Hedorah as the antagonist. I think that could be really cool. I mean, Yamazaki has said that he loves Hedorah as a character and that it's like that's one of his favorites. And so I think that could be kind of cool. Maybe if they decide to make it a trilogy, maybe do that for the third one because you can kind of lead into the 60s with that. But yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, I'm always keen on Hedorah coming back. I don't care the context. I love in the anime trilogy. It's one of the few things I love how it's in the supplemental material. China created a bioweapon and then it turned into Hedorah. Basically, it like started like eating all this stuff around it and it became this like fleshy kind of blob. And that's really cool. I think I would have liked to have seen more of that in the actual show for sure.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. And I think that I think that the director of Minus Zero would do something like that, because if you look at his movies that he loves from the previous, like his one of his biggest inspirations for Minus One was Godzilla versus Ghidorah versus Mothra, GMK, right? That's
Yeah,
what, yeah.
yeah,
And that was one that you don't really, at least I don't know, for me who's been out of it for a while, but I don't hear that. I didn't hear that as often in conversations about what the best Godzilla movie is. And I
yeah.
think that, with him having these very particular interests, I would even love to see Biollante in this trilogy of his, if he makes it a trilogy, right?
Yeah. I still think, unfortunately, I mean, I'm okay with this, but I do think it is going to be Ghidorah, Monster Zero, Minus
Yeah.
Zero. I mean, I think it's such
It's
an
too
alley-oop.
perfect.
It's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But seeing how he does it, that's going to be awesome.
I agree.
Full faith. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a bummer, but I mean, it would just be another way for Japan to like make another better version, right? Because
Right.
MonsterVerse gave us 2014 Godzilla, which I still think is awesome.
Mhm.
Then we got Shin, and then we got Minus One, which I think are better, like Godzilla is. And
Yeah.
then 2019 we got King Ghidorah, which was pretty badass. So now it's like, boom, just take that away too from MonsterVerse. Just like, yeah, watch, we
Yeah.
could do this better here. But no, that's it would be too perfect. So I really do hope that they do that.
Yeah.
So Tamayuki Tanaka, he's a producer in these Godzilla movies, and apparently he was so displeased with Godzilla versus Hedorah that the idea of a sequel was just out the window. It wasn't going to happen. But I feel I feel terrible. I keep forgetting the director's name.
Yoshimitsu Bano.
Yes. Yes, Bono. I'll call him Bono, but right. So okay, let's backtrack. Yeah, so he did not like it. So he was like, "All right, Bono, you're not making another one." Bono had gone on record later and was like, he was disappointed, but it wasn't like he like really like chewed me out over it. It wasn't like the way that it was exaggerated, like a lot of things in the past, especially around Godzilla. But Bono for the rest of his life was very adamant about getting a follow-up. And he was a big proponent in Godzilla 2014, which I thought was amazing to hear about that, but it's unfortunate that when he passed away just a couple years later, we had that 5-minute short on I think Toho's YouTube channel for it was the 67th anniversary. I know at the end of King of the Monsters, they gave a, in memory of, but
Yeah.
too bad he wasn't around to see that, and I guess in Final Wars, you got Hedorah, but too bad he didn't see that follow up in, what was it, 2021 when they go off against each other.
Right. Yeah.
That would have been pretty dope.
Yeah, no, that little short film was a huge surprise for me. At the time, I was working at a radio station for my university, and I would work the graveyard shifts. So it would be 11 p.m. to like 3 a.m. I'd work. And because at the time, it was like a lot of my classes were like late afternoon. And I'd usually be up late editing, and I'd bring my computer to the station and just kind of like edit videos while I was, in the booth. But I remember I had just cut to the next song and I had turned my mic off. Then I got the notification that there was a new Godzilla short film and it was Hedorah. And it's like, oh, they made this for me.
Right.
I still love that one, even though compared to all the future shorts that would come after it, it's a bit, I wouldn't say like a nothing burger, but like you don't have Jet Jaguar wearing Gigan hooks and doing kick flips, in the air, it's a lot more modest, we'll say, but I still dig it.
Yeah. It was definitely a treat for all the fans, and I love that it's your favorite, because you look at other people who consider it their favorite, and it's such like a weird list. And you got Roger Ebert, Adam Wingard, which that's why it's like, why hasn't it come to the Monsterverse yet?
Yeah.
And then Nicolas Cage, even they all call it their favorite Godzilla, and I think that's fascinating to see that. And I think it really speaks to the fact of, like we said earlier, about the darker tone of it,
Right.
and the symbolism of Hedorah as a villain.
Yeah. Well, to me, I think a big factor was just how weird it was. It kind of opened my mind as a 6 year old, 7 year old watching that. I'm like, oh my word, like this is what a movie could be. It can be this mixed medium of animation and some horrific imagery, but still have some like childlike elements to it. They have some bizarre music, and it's only in the English dub. It's actually an error where Hedorah flies by and this building collapses and it's in complete silence. It was a audio engineering error where one of the channels ended up getting muted on accident. But still, like that's a very unsettling moment if you're just a kid sitting there watching it late at night and it's like, oh my god, like this is just all of a sudden in complete silence. And I think to me it was one of the big movies that kind of got me into avant-garde cinema, because it's like a great gateway. It's like, oh, you like Godzilla, here's some really weird stuff for 90 minutes. Just enjoy it as much as you want to. And I happen to be someone that just I enjoy it a lot for that very reason, because it's so unapologetically weird.
Yeah, and what are some examples of some of the the movies that you came across? Because one I could think of right away that you're talking weird is like Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Yeah.
Those movies, those are
Yeah.
those are wild.
That I remember in middle school finding that was a point in my life where I just went on like a deep dive into like all these bizarre movies, like Under the Silver Globe, Gummo, Eraserhead. Like those are just those are life-changing movies where I think if you watch them at a certain age, your brain is just like chemically altered forever. There's just something about it where you're just like, oh my god, this is actually peak. I remember watching Tetsuo for the first time when I was like 13 and just never shutting up about it. And that's not a movie a 13-year-old should really be watching, but
no, absolutely
still, yeah.
I love that you mentioned the Silver Globe, because I've got this really great 4K box of it. I think it's all the way over there, but
yeah.
That's another one I watched in the last couple years, and it looks really great. And
yeah,
the director also did Possession with Sam Neill.
I believe so. Yeah. No, I love just anything that's like bizarre, weird cinema. It's something I always try to tap into, and it's something I try to highlight on the channel as much as possible. Like I did this video about Haruto Ito, which is one of my favorite like artists on YouTube right now. It's really just like it's a bunch of like creative art pieces, but a lot of like horror channels picked it up and were like, ooh, it's a cursed ARG channel, and really it's just some guy who's just really into like doing Photoshop and like really weird stuff. But he has this great short film called Hell is Cold, and I watched it on stream about a year ago, and it's amazing. I think YouTube has really opened the doors to like, anyone can make anything. It like kind of I guess you could say it's like democratized filmmaking in a way that nothing else has or ever will. I mean, anyone can make a movie now, and that's what's so cool. I think anyone is given a voice, which is just so unique. But getting back to, Hedorah and Godzilla as a whole, I think this is one of those cases where it's someone who was basically given free reign to do whatever they wanted. And the reason why Tomoyuki Tanaka reacted the way he did at first was because he was sick during the production of this movie. So he was able to be hands off for the most part as he was in the hospital. And, in general, Bono was able to kind of do whatever he wanted. And him and Bono were on very good terms as they were working together on this Toho film project around the World Expo, which I believe it's Gamera versus Giron is also set kind of in that same World Expo. They even filmed there, which is kind of funny to have that crossover. But they were on very good terms. It's been very blown out of proportion. The whole, oh, he banned him from ever making a Godzilla movie. If anything, he was a little cautious, but all things considered, Toho in general was very much like, we need to kind of like right the ship a bit and to aim it more towards children. And a big reason for that was the Toho festivals, which, aired these older Godzilla movies that were so popular with the kids. And Hedorah really wasn't, for very obvious reasons. Yeah. And that's kind of what caused that shift away from that and more towards the kid-friendly stuff. I mean, that's how you get Jet Jaguar and Mechagodzilla, arguably the stuff that a lot of fans love inadvertently happened because of this movie. It was them going, let's do the opposite of what we just did really quick, or else this franchise will crash and burn.
Right. And what All Monsters Attack, what was that? 1967 or 1969?
Yeah, All
And
Monsters Attack was 69, I believe
yeah,
so.
and I
Yeah.
think that that's the same year that the festival started too. And
Yeah.
that was the first movie where they're like, "Okay, kids, let's do it." So I think it's hilarious that a couple years later they're like, "Here's a very scary pollution monster guy,"
Yep.
and then they're like, "Okay, wait, nope, kind of fucked up. Let's let's go back to Goofy."
Right.
Um but it's, I that's like the scrappiness of it, I think, too. Just
Yeah.
winging it, just trying to figure it out. They're like, all right, we're rolling with it. Let's see how this one does. Oh, that didn't work out. All right, then we get Guy Gan, I think, the next year. We got Guy
Yep.
Gan, and it's still very, very cool how creative the process must have been to just create all of these stories,
Yeah.
and for how many there have been, for how many years that it's been going on. It's just, I'm getting off on a tangent with that, but
Right. Yeah. No, I agree though. It's a great era for the franchise. Anytime a franchise is able to just experiment and do whatever they want, you're usually going to get something really good. The same with when they just let an auteur do whatever they want. They did this with Yoshimitsu Banno, and then the Gamera franchise also ended up doing this with Shusuke Kaneko in the 90s with that trilogy of films. And I mean, I just think in general, it's like I am someone who thinks you should be letting creators create what they want and don't impede anything on them. And I think when that happens, you get some genuine works of art that are worth discussing years later. I mean, the ones that did have a lot of studio input are the ones that I personally am not a big fan of, just because it's like you could feel the studio breathing down their neck.
right. And there's like this level of safe that even as an audience member, you could just feel it.
Right.
And that, I mean, that goes for any studio movie to some capacity, right?
Yeah.
Um, and something that I thought was also interesting that I came across was Bono had read a book from 1962 called Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. And the book itself, as you may have guessed, it explores pollution. And then I also read that during this time period, Japan was facing quite a few different crises due to pollution, like Minamata, right?
Yep.
So I think that, dipping into the reality a little bit is what makes it dark. But I think that from an artistic standpoint, it gives it so much more agency. And it really honestly helps Godzilla become more of a heroic figure when you have Godzilla being the one that is fighting this force that represents something real that, in real life we deal with.
Yeah.
Whereas like in 1954, it was Godzilla was the embodiment of the bad thing, and
Yeah.
getting rid of him was it. But as you posture to make Godzilla the good guy, it was really effective to me with Hedorah being this menacing real life trouble and having Godzilla be there to kick its ass or
Well,
kick
even
her
the
ass. Yeah.
ending, yeah, even the ending is very ambiguous because it's kind of like it says like, the end question mark or or like and then there was another and it's yes, it's a sequel bait, but it's also kind of their way of saying like, look, Godzilla isn't going to just straight up end pollution. There's more
Yeah.
to this than just we're going to just kill the monster and then that's okay. Like that opening title sequence where they show all this pollution, rotting in this ocean. And the most fitting or like the one that stands out to me is like that mannequin just like rotting in that ocean. It's so horrific. But I believe that was all shot on location. Like a lot of this movie was just kind of like just go up there and film it, because it's there. Why are we creating a set for some of this stuff when it just exists in the real world? But yeah, Godzilla's at his best when he's put into a story that kind of applies modern problems to the film and what it's trying to say. Like Shin Godzilla is another one where they were sort of reacting to that Fukushima nuclear disaster and how that was sort of the government being very ineffective. And in a way, too, it's aged perfectly if you look at like COVID and how that was handled too. I mean, everything about that movie, I think, is aged extremely well in showing government ineptitude. And, with -1 being a critique of, nationalism and the whole story with Koichi and how he's this kamikaze pilot who kind of realizes that he's got more he wants to live for. I mean, the Godzilla movies are at their best when they actually have something to say. And Hedorah, I think, has a lot to say that, is still really important to this day.
Absolutely. And I have heard about Shin Godzilla getting a follow-up. I think something came out about that. I don't know if there's any authenticity to those claims, but if they do it, and I guess you could tell me because you probably know a lot more than I do if there's any legitimate thing, but I think that's another universe where they could bring in Hedorah. The only bad thing there is I can't picture Shin fighting unless Shin is the villain. I can't picture Shin Godzilla fighting against another monster and being like an anti-hero in that sense.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't think anything's been greenlit. I know there was a Comic-Con panel like forever ago. It was probably this past summer where people were thinking they were going to do like this whole announcement for Shin Godzilla 2. And it was actually just a panel with some of the filmmakers involved. And people were all disappointed, which I think is kind of funny because it's like they never said they were going to announce anything. I don't know why you're getting your hopes up, but
right.
I don't think anything's been announced. I just know a lot of like Twitter accounts have been kind of pushing for that. Personally, I don't want a Shin Godzilla sequel. I like it as just a standalone. I think it ends really well where it's this uncertainty of, oh, we stopped it just in time, or did we? Like this could have gotten really bad. And I think it just kind of it ends nicely. I mean, it's like Jaws in my mind. It's like everyone loves the first Jaws. No one likes Jaws the Revenge. Let's not make Jaws the Revenge again. Let's just kind of keep it as is. I mean, I even feel that way a little bit about -1, even though I have full faith in the filmmakers involved. And the same with Shin Godzilla. But it's just like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I never like to sequelize my works personally. And so it's just something where I'm like, I'm okay. But I get it. If you want to continue the story, I'll still see it,
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss a Godzilla movie in theaters.
Right. I'll be there first day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely, I can agree too, because you lose some of that mysticism when you do a follow-up, but it also, especially if you have auteurs like Hideaki Anno or Godzilla -1 director. I'm terrible today, man. I am not a Godzilla fan. I can't get any of these names right, but getting these directors back, the writers, because Anno wrote Shin Godzilla, and just seeing what they have to say this time around, it's like, hell yeah, like I'm definitely there for it. But
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
it runs that risk of like, okay, like what if they fuck it up, or what if it's just like terrible? It had too many hands in it. You had like studios in it now that like -1, for instance, wasn't expected to be as big as it was, but now that it is, you just hope that like Toho and those guys aren't being too critical and controlling about how to pursue it.
And they're funneling a ton of money into -0. Like I know that this has like quadruple the budget or something.
Yeah.
And they're filming in like New Zealand and like Norway, and it's
no way.
like,
that's gonna be fucking awesome, man.
I know. I have no clue what they're doing, but I'm very intrigued because I know there was some plot leak. I don't know if it's true, but they said that like there's more US involvement and that they're almost treating it like the US wants to get involved, and it's kind of about Japan defending their sovereignty in a way, and it kind of continues those themes from the first film. But I wouldn't mind that one bit. I think that'd be kind of cool, actually. So
yeah, no,
I'm curious to see what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and do we know the time period yet?
I know that Yamazaki said that if the movie comes out 3 years after -1, they're just gonna time skip 3 years in the next film, just to like kind of like age it with the actors. And so that's why I doubt they'll do like a 60s movie, and have like the whole Hedorah pollution thing. I would be willing to bet like my entire channel's revenue and its entire history on Ghidorah being the bad guy. Like just with Monster Zero and -0, it just seems so. I don't know. That's just me, but I would love to see Hedorah.
Yeah, and I wonder what because in a lot of it, in most of the canon, right, Ghidorah's an alien.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if they're just
Except
gonna
for GMK. He did say he likes GMK, and they could do like the Aokigahara forest. I know in that one is where that businessman goes to kind of off himself, and then he falls in and sees Ghidorah there. So maybe they could do kind of a similar origin like that. It's entirely possible. They could go really biblical with it. There's this really cool fan-made Godzilla analog horror that takes it in like a biblical direction, and it's like Godzilla is like the red dragon from like Revelations in the Bible, and like Ghidorah is like, this the serpent or whatever. It's really nuts.
That's
But
dope.
I think they could really kind of go in a unique direction with this. I'm all for,
Hmm.
redoing characters. I'm not, it's not like a comic book, where you're adapting a specific thing. And it's like, we've already had these stories made. That's like, if the MonsterVerse decides to have Space Godzilla not have the exact same origin as the Toho movies, I couldn't care less. It's a different
Yeah.
iteration. It's all good.
Yeah, and it already, I mean, just to talk about MonsterVerse for a second, I mean, it already seems like they're hinting at things, with the Hollow Earth and all the crystals and
Yeah.
how Space Godzilla is set up. I mean, it's all kind of there, but I think that, yeah, when you put in that perspective, knowing how much he likes GMK and how Ghidorah is in GMK, I mean, it almost writes itself.
Right. Yeah.
I wonder, so in 3 years, if they're doing 3 years, I wonder, because we see Godzilla at the end, just like a fleshy piece of the heart, or the heart itself.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're gonna do the reanimation cycle, and how long, and what that's all gonna look
Yeah.
like.
They might just have it be like, well, I mean, shoot, would it be 3 years? I think if it comes out, it's coming out later this year.
Yeah,
I
so that's
think.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so they could just say, "Oh, it took 3 years for it to regenerate," or something. But I don't know. There's a lot where I'm really curious, and I can't believe it's already coming out this year. I feel like I just
Yeah.
saw it in theaters, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that movie for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if they were to do a third one, it would be so dope if they did it Hedorah. I think that
Yeah,
I just think that there's so much you could do with that, especially like you said about the 60s. I think that that's a genius way to continue it.
yeah.
And that's how, yeah, that I totally agree with that.
My
Um
girlfriend and I, we were just kind of talking about Godzilla stuff while driving, and she pitched a really awesome idea that I can't stop thinking about. And it was, if they did kept it in the same time period, but they had like almost like not steampunk, but like a version of Mechagodzilla that was like almost like not retro futurist, but you know what I mean? Like this like 40s version of like what a robot would be at that time. And it's using all this like, World War II era technology to like build this, where guys are like hand cranking together like the arms to get them to like, get a punch going or something, and like I thought that'd be like a really neat concept. I mean, and then they came up with the whole like shortly after that, it was like the Romeo and Juliet and Godzilla comic book, where there is a steampunk like Mecha Godzilla concept. So I was like, you're onto something there. But I wouldn't mind that too. Like if they just decide, screw it, we're gonna go with the most iconic monsters, so Mechagodzilla's the third one, and we go all crazy, like almost steampunk with it. I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't know.
yeah, and I don't want to use this example because the movie sucks, but like thinking like the spider from Wild Wild West,
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yep.
but have it be good,
Yeah. Right.
I think that could be cool, but those comics, the IDW comics, I need to start reading more of those, because they
Yeah.
really have some compelling things. Like there's this I don't know, I forget the name of it, but they've got like a horror Godzilla angle thing that they're going to release. Like
Yeah,
it's
I've heard about that. Yeah.
and I think that's a really dope way of going about it. I don't know if you watched the Gundam Netflix series where it's from the perspective of the bad guys.
No, that sounds really interesting though. I've seen the first movie, like the very, very first movie from way back, but that's about it.
Yeah, and I always try to get in. There's so many different variations of Gundam. It's
Yeah.
hard to get into, but they did a recent one. It's only 6 episodes, and I think most of it's from like the bad guys' perspective. And there's this one episode where at the end of it, a Gundam comes through and attacks, and it's like done. It's animated like almost like a horror movie, and the Gundam is like a
That's
force
great.
of nature, just destroying everything. I love that angle, and I think having that with Godzilla which I mean, I
Yeah.
guess we get that in the normal movies,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
you know, just having that horror angle is something that, you know, we don't get much. We haven't gotten much ever again. You know, just, you know, obviously we get traces of it with Hedorah and even Biollante a little bit, just the creation there. And
Yeah.
when it's just Godzilla fucking shit up, you kind of get some of that horror angle. But I just, yeah, I love the idea of the kind of like, there's this game coming out where it's like, it's not Batman, but it's basically Batman, but it's from the
Oh yeah,
perspective of
you're
the
like a
henchman.
goon. Yep.
Yeah.
There was an old Arkham Origins like multiplayer map where you would be a goon, and then like someone else that's playing online, they would be Batman. And so I remember that was a lot of fun because you're just trying to survive, and then you just get swooped up, and you're on a gargoyle after that. But
Yeah.
that was a great map.
Yeah, and like I said, the comics, there's just so many interesting things with the comics. I need to just like buy a shitload of the IDW books that they've been doing.
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Godzilla, I think recently wrapped up. Want to check that out because I think that'd be super dope to see how they do
Yeah.
that.
Rulers of Earth is my favorite. I think if you're a fan of the franchise and you just want to see all your favorite glup shittos show up, I mean that's the way to go. I honestly think that. I mean, like Titanosaurus gets moments to shine, and it's like she never gets anything to do ever. So it's
Yeah.
like that's always really awesome. Godzilla in Hell is really great too. That's like a fan favorite. I mean, I'd kill to see like a animated adaptation of that. So yeah, those are my two recommendations.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check those out because yeah, it's one of those franchises that just, you know, it could be really good when it's in that comic format. And I think
For
it
sure.
really, you know, to have that freedom to just you know, just illustrate whatever. Oh man, there are so many possibilities with that. That's
Right.
Cullen Bunn, he's an author and he's also a comic book writer. He did Godzilla versus the Power Rangers or something.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just like, okay, you know, I
Yeah.
love that. I love the freedom to do all that wild shit. But I do want to segue a little bit into what you do, but to segue into it, you know, you brought up analog horror for Godzilla. What are the analog horror channels that you've come across that you like?
Yeah, the one that I've been watching a ton of lately is called Midwest Angelica. It's so cool. It's like Neon Genesis Evangelion, but if like the military industrial complex in America fought aliens and then won, like that's pretty much like
Oh,
that's
dope.
the elevator pitch. There's a scene in one of, and this isn't a spoiler, I promise, because there's more to the show than just this. But there's this scene where like you get this setup of like, oh my god, these aliens, it's like this virus that's coming,
Mm-hmm.
and these people are getting infected. And then the next one is them, the US military, just bombing all the aliens. And it's set to some like classical like Ride of the Valkyries. Like it's so awesome. And then from there, they're like, okay, we have all the technology. Like we're gonna build a Tower of Babel. And that's the entire premise. It's a great kind of like I guess diversion of expectations or whatever. It's magical. It's such a fulfilling thing. Like, because I think a lot of analog horrors really struggle with pacing and like,
Oh,
you know,
100%.
treating the audience with respect. And that one, it doesn't waste your time, and it just like it sets it up, and then it just goes crazy with it.
Yeah,
Um,
I just subscribed to it, by the way. I'm definitely going to check that
yeah,
out.
it's that there's. I think if you watch the very first episode, it's like 50 seconds long. If you watch that and you're not on board, it might not be for you. But it's an amazing kind of like 50-second setup of like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go nuts with it.
And it's got
Um,
90s aesthetic, I think, which
Yep.
also just perfect for that VHS.
Yeah,
Look.
completely. Man, I gotta think beyond that because that's the one that I've really been watching a ton of as of late. Greylock, I remember really loving. The creator of that reached out to me forever ago, and he sent me that, and then I sent him something I was working on at the time, so that was kind of neat. Because I grew up actually watching his content on YouTube. He used to go by Rob Dyke, now he goes by Rob Gavigan. And he did these like creepy top tens, and when I was in like elementary school, I'd watch the ever living shit out of that. But it was kind of like surreal. It's like, oh my god, like this dude's messaging me. This is so cool. But yes, that one is fantastic. It's not really analog horror, but I also really like I think it's called like The Longest View. It's the one that the guy that did the back rooms, he did the one where it's like the mall that's like deep underground. Oldest View, the oldest view. That one is really good too. I'm obsessed with that one as well. Those are sort of my big three right now, for
Yeah,
sure.
and and you mentioned this about pacing. I mean, found footage in general is something that if it doesn't have good pacing, it loses me as an audience member. But if
Yeah.
there's good payoff, I think any found footage or analog, that's kind of where you get the hook in, is like the
Yeah.
it's a payoff. But Man in the Suit, I think, is a pretty commonly known at this point. Godzilla one.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the name of it. It's I think a feature, but it's another analog Godzilla. I follow the channel, but the channel name is like Lost Utopia Films. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
Shelter 54.
yeah, I love Lost Utopia films.
Yeah.
They're the one that they're working on now. It's like a King Kong escapes kind of deal,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
it's got the robot Kong. It's got like the Yeti in it. I'm gonna do. Already said I'm gonna do like a big stream whenever that drops and just binge the whole series again. But I adore Lost Utopia films. One of my favorite channels on all of YouTube right now. Honest to
Yeah.
God, like they're even though like we were Twitter mutuals back when I had a Twitter. I don't care. Like that's still like that's peak in my eyes.
Yeah, no, and I remember coming across Shelter 54 and I was just like, "Oh, this is awesome. Like
Yeah,
what is this?" And it's great to hear that they're doing more with it. And then there was another channel that isn't it's not analog or anything, but I just think it's cool. I already forgot the name of it cuz my memory sucks ass today, but
yeah.
it's like it's CGI, but they do it to look like the suit, like the suitmation basically.
Yeah.
And it's Godzilla versus the Mutos from 2014.
Oh, I've
Yeah,
seen
you've
that.
probably seen
That's
it. Yeah.
awesome. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So, on that token, you mentioned YouTube being like a good place for all these creatives, and I think it is. I think it's a great way to put your work out there. How has your experience been on YouTube? Because you've been making short films and putting the short films out there. Just what's that experience been like? And what's your end game with that? You
Yeah.
know?
I don't really have much of an end game. I just kind of make stuff to make it. It's fun. Um, like I probably should. I don't really have like a marketing plan with my movies. I sort of just drop them and then I'll make a couple YouTube shorts explaining how I made it, and then that's about it. And then I'll just move on to the next project. Um, I remember back when I first started this channel, the original idea was just to make short films and feature films, and that was going to be it. But eventually I was like, I kind of want to talk about some movies, and then that's kind of how this started. But I remember though I would do like Instagram ads for like some of my movies, and it would net me like 40 views, and I'd drop like $100. I'm like, this is not worth it. But basically though, I started out, I want to say I was in high school. I made a short film called Firewood, and then it was like 2 minutes long, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I want to make a feature now, with like no experience. Made a feature. It was called Another Day Closer to the Sun, and it's this like drama sci-fi thing, and dropped that on my 18th birthday, and then immediately started work on my second feature, Pesticide. Finished that right before I graduated high school, within like 6 months of Another Day Closer to the Sun being finished. And then throughout college, I worked on my third feature, and I started doing during I want to say my sophomore year of college, I did one short film a month as like a self-imposed challenge. And the first one immediately blew up on Japanese Twitter, which was really funny because all the comments are in Japanese, and that was not intended. It was really funny because I just woke up, all these notifications on my phone, and they were all like, I couldn't understand what they were saying because it was all Japanese. But some really popular account there like posted some screenshots and was like hyping it up, and then like some guy that's from Japan like did like a video talking about it, and then that blew up, and it was just like a really surreal moment. But I kept making short films, and then that was my biggest success. So that one was called Doppelganger, and I tried making it into a feature. Didn't really work out. It's hard to kind of take a 2-minute short and flesh all that out. But
Mhm.
Yeah, I made shorts a little bit more inconsistently though once I started making more of like the movie retrospectives and stuff. Um, but the one that kind of like I think was like that was lightning in a bottle was Restricted Zone, which is this
Hmm.
kaiju short film that I've made.
My favorite of
And
yours, by the way, from what I've
thank you.
seen. Yeah, yeah, I like that.
Thank you. It because I was like, well, people like my kaiju stuff, and I had been messing around in Blender, so I was like, oh, let me just try to kind of blend this together. So my buddy has all this kind of like military gear, so we just on the day of kind of like pieced it together with no script, figured out what we were gonna do, and then I used the I ended up writing a script to kind of like piece the narrative together after the fact, the voiceover and whatnot. But yeah, that was like to me that was like, oh, it's lightning in a bottle. And then I made the Anomalous Archives, which is
Hmm.
like my attempt at like real analog horror. I did a couple found footage ones before, but that's about as analog horror as you're going to get. It's a sequel to Restricted Zone, but I did a really bad job of explaining that in the movie
Because
because it's such a
I watched it. I've
yeah,
seen some of it, and yeah, I didn't know that it was
yeah.
connected.
I should have opened it with like Restricted Zone as like the cold open or something, but the main character in Restricted Zone is the grandfather of the protagonist in Anomalous Archives. And so I tried to kind of piece that together the best I could, but I don't know. I think maybe it works then if you can just watch it and not know. I don't know, but because it doesn't really affect the plot much. But so yeah, and then right now, I'm just sort of working on two big feature films, and then my band has our album dropping in April, and so I'm working on all the music videos for that as well. We've got some filmmaker friends of mine that are doing music videos as well
Oh,
for
cool.
that. But yeah, so I mean, if you want, I could talk a little bit about what I'm cooking up with the
Yeah.
feature film.
Yes. And really quick, what's your band name
Yeah,
again?
The Ideal.
The Ideal. Okay, because I did see a post about that or something
Yeah,
at some point. So that
we
that'll be
have
cool.
like one song out on Spotify at the minute, so it's hard to kind of like
Yeah.
promote it and gas it up because it's like, yeah, you can go
Yeah.
look at the one song that we have. But
And then
um,
before you get into the two
yeah,
features, are you gonna try to like fund these things, or you're gonna do it in the same hustle that you've been doing your other shorts and your
yeah,
other
I'm not
features?
gonna do much funding for the big one. It's called This Town Does Not Exist, and I've been sort of talking about it a bit on the channel. Uh, the budget for that is 2 grand, and I just sort of took that money and I just set it aside, and I'm like, okay, this is just going to be for this. Um, the majority of that money though is going towards funding the stop motion animation present in this. It's mixed media, so
Mm.
there's a lot of elements of stop motion, a lot of live action, CGI, practical effects. It's a cosmic horror, body horror, just insane sort of story. And the crux of it is it's this small Wisconsin town, and people in it are going missing, and the people that aren't going missing are seeing essentially like a double of themselves, and it's like mangled on like a street post. It's like their own corpse essentially right in front of them. And so that's sort of just the setup, and then from there it's okay, why, like what's this mystery that's kind of going on. And my band is actually in the short film, which is really funny. We kind of play ourselves, and so we're working in I'm a big fan of Matt Johnson and his stuff and how he
The
will.
Dirties is
Yes,
awesome,
yes.
man.
So we're sort of doing a similar thing where we have a big album release show that's coming out. We're filming the gig, and then we're going to work that into the movie so that that's actually like one of the opening scenes of the movie where a character's at the gig, and we're going to film stuff in real time as it kind of goes along. But so, like that sort of style of like it's pure guerrilla filmmaking. We don't have any permits for anything. Most of it we're sort of breaking it up into like these different storylines that are going down because certain characters are isolated for one reason or another. So you can kind of like film large chunks of the movie and then film the other chunks later on, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a really wild movie. I can't wait for it to be out. I'm aiming for like a November release on that one for this
Oh,
year.
cool, cool.
It's definitely one of my most ambitious films for sure. I mean, it's like it's a miracle if this can be a reality for sure. The other one is untitled as of now, but it's a found footage project. The crux is I'm going to be playing this sort of like homeless drifter living in a tent in the woods, and I'm being stalked by this like mannequin with real human eyes that are sort of like in where like the eyes should be on the mannequin, and he isn't sure if it's moving, if it's real or not. And it's sort of like more psychological. Uh, but it's going there's elements of it that I'm still trying to kind of write, but in general, it's still kind of in like that screenwriting phase. But the goal for me is to get this out by July of this year and have it out on the 5-year anniversary of the channel being founded as kind
Oh,
of like
that'll
just
be great. Yeah.
yeah, just like a little celebration thing. It's probably going to be about 45 minutes to like 60 minutes. It's not going to be some crazy odyssey or anything, but those are the two really big ones. I've got some short films in the works too. But it's a lot because it's also like I'm juggling, the album release. I'm juggling the channel as is, my 9 to 5, all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's just it's a lot of fun though, and I think it keeps me on my toes, and that's when I'm at my best. I'm at my best when I'm not being stagnant and having to kind of like, rest on my laurels. And so the music videos too are really cool that we're cooking up. One of my friends does this like stop motion stuff where he makes custom action figures, and so he's doing like a robot chicken type video for one
Oh,
of our
nice.
songs. Another filmmaker friend of ours is from Australia, and he is shooting all of it on 16 millimeter film.
Oh,
And
that's
so
amazing.
it's really cool to kind of like just do that where it's like, yeah, you're all the way across the world, and like you're shooting a video for us. It's really neat. So, but yeah, a lot of things in the works, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, no, it's good to stay busy. Love to hear
Yeah.
that. But I know you're about to get out of here, so
Yeah.
thank you so much, Cole, for talking with me. Big fan of the channel.
Thank you so
You
much.
absolutely know way more about Godzilla than I do, but it's great to have you on here to chat about it. And I love what you're doing, and I really like what those ideas where you write this really compelling concept, and then you're just kind of like, all right, where's it going to go? And you just like write to get there to see where it takes you. And
Yeah.
I love that level of filmmaking and writing. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Thank
Thank
you so much. I appreciate it.